Hey everybody, you probably ask yourself, what the heck is that dude doing with this thing over here? And well, I had the pleasure to talk to both gentlemen yesterday, and we were at the bar, and they said, you know what, we need a good time, so they ordered some whiskey. And for me it's great. Usually when I do podcasts, I don't see the people, right? I need to get the alpha by making you feel comfortable. But I can make you make drunk right now, so that's the easier way, right? So both of you, please get one. There you go.
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. Cheers, everyone.
But then I thought we were in Medellin, and he was talking about that the city is changing, and now I'm giving you alcohol. Maybe not the best, but hey, we'll see. Great, so let's talk about Interchain Security, right? That's what we heard earlier from Ethan. It's right now one of the interesting topics that we see out there. And maybe for everybody, it's easier to understand if we start with an Eli 5 take. Jehan, can you maybe try to explain it? Like, Eli 5, what is Interchain Security?
Yeah, so Interchain Security basically allows the Cosmos Hub to run many blockchains in parallel, all with the same security attributes. So they're secured by the validator set of the Cosmos Hub, but they're individual blockchains. They're on their own release cycles, and they run in parallel.
Okay.
That's kind of the ELI 5, but if you were like maybe 12 years old, the ELI 12, I like to think of it as really like validator set replication. So you take the validator set of the Cosmos Hub, use IBC to send that set to other blockchains so that they don't need to have their own staking token, they don't need to have their own validator set. It's the same people as the Cosmos Hub and the same security as Atom.
Cool. Why is this now a game changer? So what is so special about it?
Well, first of all, it allows for much greater scalability. So you have the ability for one blockchain to scale by running in parallel, and it also allows for different teams to build different chains with different release cycles, and they're all able to coexist within one kind of shared security zone.
Yeah, I feel like it really became a priority for a couple of different reasons, and a lot of benefits have come out as a result. The first one was around hub minimalism, so being able to increase the capacity of the Cosmos Hub without increasing the complexity of it.
No, I think we started to talk about drinking, and somebody just passed with a head and drinking. I don't know. Sorry, go ahead, sir.
So yeah, good morning, everybody.
I'm jet lagged. I can do that, right? For me, it's okay.
And so you're able to really turn the Cosmos Hub into this multi-threaded blockchain that has a bunch of different actions, utilities, features, without putting it all onto a single blockchain. So that's already beneficial to expand and scale the Cosmos Hub. But what comes out of that is this offering for other blockchains that aren't necessarily features that would be on the hub natively. They're able to offer the security of the hub to do the same thing, but for completely new blockchains. And so it really just expands the scope of possibilities with launching secure, decentralized networks.
Where did this all start, right, in terms of history? Who had the first idea for that?
People have been talking about Interchain Security for much longer than I've been working on it personally.
I think there's ideas about it from Jay as far back as 2016 or something like that. But we really saw it reprioritized and picked up at the end of 2020, I think, coming around for what is the future direction of the hub. It was really hard to decide what goes on to the hub. And a way to sort of make everybody happy is to keep this hub minimalism story, where the hub is very lean, mean, block-producing machine, and push the innovation out onto these new blockchains that are secured in the same way. And so you're able to have the best of both worlds.
Yeah, so we have a bunch of blockchains that are going to be launching with Interchain Security that are separate projects with their own, their own teams, and it's kind of people who would maybe launch a smart contract or a sovereign app chain on Cosmos, but instead they've decided for their applications they want the highest possible security. So two of them I can mention are Quicksilver and Neutron. Quicksilver is liquid staking, you've probably heard of them. And Neutron is creating a smart contract zone of their own, which is secured by the hub. But then also, in Ethan's talk there, he was talking about the new stuff in Atom 2.0, and most of those features are going to be developed as consumer chains as well. And that's really going to allow the hub to add stuff more quickly, iterate more quickly, because each feature can be tested independently. It can be deployed independently, but with the same security as if it was directly on the hub.
Yeah. Can you maybe help me also to understand the different companies that are right now working on this, right? Informal, how is it connected to the Cosmos Hub itself? Maybe you can quickly start and give some insights there so everybody understands it for the involvement.
Yeah, so we've mostly at Informal been working on implementing it, but it was actually started by Billy and his team at IG. Aditya, who's on the IBC team, actually wrote the first version of it. So we picked it up, and we've been filling in over the past year, filling in all the gaps and testing it very heavily, which continues. And we've been also working in collaboration with Billy and Sam on business development, and yeah.
Yeah, my role previously was as the funding manager at the ICF. So I was doing a lot of account management with all the core entities, anybody who was contributing and getting paid by the S to do stuff. That pivoted really well into Cosmos Hub Lead because so many different teams are contributing to the Cosmos Hub. So a lot of that work is actually just account management, check-ins with external teams, making sure that they're on progress, that they're going to get integrated, as well as building a new team inside of Interchain, which is about integrating all that work. There was never a dedicated team to really just putting things into Gaia before. It was always sort of an afterthought to the Cosmos SDK. And we finally sort of seen, as Ethan was saying, the achievement of like the first stage, which is, launching and delivering the Cosmos SDK, Tendermint, IBC, and the next phase of innovation is really centered on the Cosmos Hub itself. I was talking about last night over whiskeys, my fondness for
How is it, by the way?
It's so good. I'm so glad I'm having this for breakfast. I'm from Kentucky.
Do you need more ice, by the way?
I'm good. I'm perfect. It's perfect.
Who knows?
But
Okay.
this conversation, a new metaphor I really liked was that the Cosmos Hub was kind of like a model home inside of a new development. And so it's just a bunch of empty land with like one model home. It looks like a home, smells like a home, but nobody really lives in it. And everybody needs to know, what does that home do? How does it look like in order to decide, am I going to build a home the same way? And we've seen that happen. We now have like a vibrant neighborhood surrounding the Cosmos Hub, with all these houses built based off of this model home. And so finally we look back and we say, okay, there's this empty model home in the middle of this vibrant neighborhood. And that position is actually really valuable for the neighborhood. We get to start saying, what should be here in the center? Actually, should it be a school? Should it be a police station? Like, what is something about being in the middle of the neighborhood, familiar to every single resident, that can be leveraged to provide even more value to the community? And that's where I think, a lot of the innovation the Cosmos Hub is right now, is adding value to this model home previously to make it like a distinct and important architectural addition to this neighborhood.
It's so cool to listen to you guys, really kind of seeing how it's developing step by step. Let me ask you, how do you test at home right now? Right? I guess it's not that straightforward. Are you in testnet? And then how is it?
We have a lot of layers of testing. There are extensive integration tests on Gaia, which is the hub software itself, which Billy and his team have been building over the past year. There are, test nets. So test nets kind of help you see that it actually works in the real world. But also at Informal, we, as a company culture, we have a lot of people who specialize in testing, in software quality assurance. It's like my colleague Marius. And we have a lot of different techniques. So one that I'm very excited about is basically we build a model of the system that we're building. So for Interchain Security, we built a model of it in TypeScript. And it works just like Interchain Security will work, but it doesn't run an actual blockchain. So it's like a digital twin. So because it's a model and it doesn't have to run a real blockchain, it's a lot simpler. And so we can compare it to the specification and see that it's exactly the way it's specified. And then we're able to basically run it through every possible, or not every possible, but like millions and millions of different scenarios in different states, and then compare what the model does and what the real system does. And so if they both do the same thing, and we can check the model is the same as the spec, there's never a guarantee that something's 100% secure, but we have a huge amount of confidence, a lot more than just if you're handwriting tests. And we're going to try to expand that, across, everything we build. We actually have a team at Informal that just works on that kind of stuff.
And this is called model-based testing.
Model-based testing, yeah.
Of course, The other relevant testing update is the incentivized testnet. It's going to be coming up next month. Check out the Cosmos Hub forum for the draft of the proposal. So validators will be sort of put through the ringer, make sure that they're prepared to up their game and be able to run interchain security.
Being a validator, right? It's like, okay, do I need to say no financial advice or whatever? I don't know. How does it change the future in terms of governance, right? Because usually you have an app chain, you have your whole validator set, they're very important for governance. So what is the topic here, right? How does it change? How do you see the role of the Cosmos Hub itself? You're laughing, you talked about this?
Yeah, I mean, I'm a stickler for this. I really love this aspect of it, and I feel like I'm constantly bothering Jehan to make sure that it's included in all the earliest versions. But I think there's this really amazing separation of concerns that finally becomes possible with interchain security. We've often seen problems in the past from the idea that validators have multiple roles. You know, it's already a lot of work to run a sophisticated setup and produce blocks with integrity, uptime, and speed. You know, it's a really hard infrastructure problem. The other role of a validator, of course, is as a governmental representative. You know, they have to vote on the different proposals that are coming up, and they use the votes from their delegators to do that. Of course, the delegators can always go against what their validators want. You know, that's always an option. But it's really an important job of the validators to participate in governance. And there's not a guarantee that if you're really good at producing blocks, you're going to also be really good at evaluating a new DeFi protocol or evaluating something about, you know, the application itself. And I've often gotten feedback from validators. They're like, we don't know what to do on this vote. Like, I actually don't know what would happen if we change this parameter in terms of like the economic input. And I'm just a block producer, which is fine and great. You know, you have community discussions, you're able to sort of take your signals that way. But when you have interchain security, you can separate the concerns where the validators are in charge of producing blocks, and on these consumer chains, you can have a new governance-only token. And you can reuse the same governance system so that normal people can be sort of validators, they're sort of governmental representatives, and their job is only to participate, to be informed, involved, and have like good ideas in order to push the protocol forward itself. You know, they don't need to just by chance be good at producing blocks at the same time. You know, they can really focus on the job, which is a huge job alone, is being a great governmental representative and participant.
I mean, talking about governance, you also mentioned like there can be a token of the projects that are coming just for governance. When are they coming, right? When Interchain Security, I haven't drunk and I have the problems here. So there you go.
Yeah, so as Billy mentioned, we're having a public testnet in about a month. We're actually doing a private testnet right now. It's a little bit smaller, more informal. It's a group of 10 to 12 validators, and we've been running through tasks. We've tested, like lightly tested about 75% of everything. We're really gonna put it to the test in November. But if everything goes well in the incentivized testnet, then the launch of Interchain Security will be sometime in January.
January.
So that's the plan.
Go for it. So, Interchain Security, version 1. What's next?
Well, I mean, we have a pretty big roadmap with the the Cosmos Hub paper that Ethan was talking about. There's a lot of stuff there. So we're kind of deciding, at Informal, this is like not specifically Cosmos Hub, but we're kind of deciding what we want to focus on, because there's a lot of different pieces, but there's all that good stuff. And then Sunny, I think, is going to give a talk about mesh security, which should be interesting. And that's actually kind of a different take on interchain security. So if that works out well, we might add that as well.
Yeah, you can look through the first version of the light paper on interchain security to see some of the directions of possible future iterations. Even within those, there's variations. There's a lot of sort of possible exploration space there. We're definitely going to prioritize making sure that the initial and simplest version, which has a lot of mileage and a lot of work to do, is able to be sort of fully leveraged and utilized, and that's really just focusing on expanding the capabilities of the hub and providing security in the sort of most straightforward, full validator set kind of way. We've used the term V2 and V3 to talk about variations of that are potentially possible in the future. They still require a lot of research to sort of like validate that they're technically possible and all this, but it brings forward a lot of different features that I would love to see eventually. things like validator opt-in, which is that not the entire validator set must produce blocks on there, but you can choose to. And I think that really opens up the playing field for small validators potentially. You know, they're able to make an edge against big validators who are maybe slow, cumbersome because, you know, hey, they're making good money, why do they need to fix something if it's not broke? Whereas you're a small validator, you want to make a name, you're willing to take on as many new chains as possible, you know, have a higher reward for your validators. Another version is this mesh security idea in which you're sharing validator sets from multiple sources. So you might have a local validator set with a local staking token, part of the validator set from the Cosmos Hub, maybe part of the validator set from Osmosis, or even the other way around, you know, having Osmosis and the Cosmos Hub potentially overlap with each other. And one of the really exciting carrots at the end of that stick is that there's interesting properties that start to arise when you have a large overlap in validator sets. There's potential for even having things like synchronous IBC transactions between those networks, which are really exciting. People over at Noma are working especially on these sort of features, and I hope to see all of these things sort of merge and overlap in the future. But there's a lot of work there.
I will say, though, that those benefits, like the overlapping validator set, of course, with Interchain Security V1, what we're launching now, that validator set overlaps completely. So the benefits of like validator opt-in or layered or mesh security are kind of making it possible for projects that maybe wouldn't have made the cut for, you know, Interchain Security v1 because you need to have all the validators or the governance of the hub agree to run the project, make it possible for those projects to run, you know, with part of the validator set. But we found that there's a lot of challenges with making that work. So if you have a subset of the validators, you need to make sure that that's not like a malicious subset. So there's different ways with fraud proofs and things, but it starts to intersect with rollups.
What is right now in general the biggest challenge, right? Where could be a roadblocker in the next months? Because, I mean, you said January, right? So I'll quote you on that.
Yeah, I think we're at the stage right now where we kind of have we have like 60 open issues on GitHub, and they're all kind of, none of them are really big tasks. It's always just like, oh, we got to go back and clean that up. And you know, as I said, we're doing a lot more testing. So I think if there was something that came up out of the blue that we missed, and we were like, oh crap, what was that? That's something that could delay the launch. But I don't think that's something that's going to happen. But you can never be sure.
I'd say it has something to do with coordination overhead. So speaking especially to validators, you know, get involved with the incentivized testnet. Like it's a fundamentally new way of running Cosmos blockchains, and it's really important that people, you know, take that task seriously, get educated, and understand what's going to be expected of them in order to run these sort of new configurations. And so, even just sort of making the upgrade happen, I think at a technical level, I'm much less worried about, but just making sure that the communication on what you need to do, when you need to do it, and that this is a bit of a wake-up call. It raises the bar for what a validator is responsible for. And fun fact, we even considered in the incentivized testnet punishing validators who didn't participate, you know, building into the upgrade some sort of a slashing mechanism or something like that, like, you know, really wake people up, say, you need to take this seriously.
Well, it's interesting. So for the validators, due to the way that Tendermint works, if 1/3 of the validators don't run a consumer chain, it won't run. So the way it will work in real life is that there will be a governance proposal to launch the consumer chain. Governance will vote. That's delegators and validators. And then when the proposal passes, there's a period of about a week and a half. We might be able to extend that period, but there's a week and a half where the validators have to get the consumer chain running. And if they don't do it within a week and a half, they're going to have to like redo the proposal. So it's kind of like a safeguard. If there's something seriously wrong with the consumer chain and it's just like not going to work, the validators aren't going to be punished. But if you have 2/3 of the validators running it and there's a validator who doesn't run it, then they will be slashed for downtime. So.
My favorite part about that governance proposal aspect, though, which is kind of interesting, is once that governance proposal passes, it produces 1/2 of the IBC handshake, which is sort of like a secret golden seed that's necessary to like launch that consumer chain, which is a pretty, I mean, an aside, but a cool fact.
Yeah, that's what times out after a week and a half, is that magic seed expires.
It'll fade, it's glowing.
Yeah, it's like glowing, it's like a jewel, like IBC client.
Maybe to close it also, how do you see the role of validators changing over time, right? Do you see them become more institutions, like known over the whole space? The Cosmos validators are truly the biggest one, or do you see more smaller ones coming up because the set is increasing?
I think that as people become more familiar with how staking works, we're going to see more smaller validators or mid-sized validators gaining market share as people stake less on exchanges. At least that's what I hope to see.
I think that validators are going to become more and more political kind of freedom fighters. I think that actually there's going to become a much more hostile environment to decentralized networks. I think the days are numbered for launching legally decentralized layer ones. And actually in the long term, I could imagine that the real value of Interchain Security is that you launch a blockchain with it and you inherit potentially like legally justifiably decentralized protocol from day one. And it's going to be up to the validators to like fight that, you know, I remain producing blocks despite what regulations may come.
I'll be fighting there with you. I'll try my best as a validator. Let's see where this goes. I see there 8 seconds. Gentlemen, big thank you. Everybody out there for listening. Big applause for them.
Yes.
Thank you.
Great.